Hey everyone, welcome back to Backtrack Cinema. In this ranking, we're going to be ranking every Death Wish film from my least favorite to my absolute favorite. So get comfy, get a drink, and let's rank the Death Wish films. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema, and today we're doing the Death Wish ranking all 6 films, including the remake. But before we get to the ranking, let me know in the comments what your ranking would be of all the Death Wish films. This would be an interesting one because I haven't really seen many YouTube videos of a ranking of this franchise, so I don't know where I'm going to land on it with a lot of you, so it'll be interesting. So let's have that great talk in those comments. So coming in at number 6 is Death Wish 5, The Face of Death.
You got a problem?
This one feels very much like a made-for-TV movie. It has a pretty lousy, over-the-top performances. It gets to the level of absurdity and silliness, and you know, Charles Bronson is still good in it, but very weak villains. But I do like that setup. Him having this family, his girlfriend, you know, she's really good. Acting's pretty good in this one. Just some of this stunt work and the way they tell this story is this very low budget, made for TV, very almost amateur like, and so it doesn't hit with me. So the movie, I've probably never returned to this one. It's just okay. Coming in at number 5 is Death Wish from 2018. So this one's just very mediocre to me. I mean, I like seeing Bruce Willis back in a film like this, and I think he's okay with it, but I also think he could have went further. For an actor like this, I think he could have gave us a much more emotional, gritty performance, and the movie should have been more gritty. It just goes for a paint-by-numbers revenge movie, and I think I was just maybe expecting a little bit more out of this one. I do like the action in it, and I do like some of the camera work and the lighting. I think it's pretty good. But it fails to realize what the first one did so well. And what the first one did is that Paul Kersey never caught the muggers who attacked his wife, made his daughter catatonic. And that's the thing. It was about this man who's descending into this revenge and hatefulness, and about a society that failed him, about like the law enforcement failed him. And it's about this man lashing out against that system. And when you just let this character kill the victims, then it just kind of loses that part of the story that I really like. And it had really good atmosphere in that original movie. Obviously we're going to get into that movie, but this one just went for a more paint by numbers revenge tale, but we've seen a lot of those, especially in the 2000s. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's why this one sits here. Coming in at number 4 is Death Wish 2.
Goodbye.
This one too, Death Wish 2, I just found kind of boring. It wasn't as engaging as the first one. And it's really just copying that first movie, except for this time, he gets the people who rape his daughter, because his daughter gets raped and killed in this one. And they're just doing, except for he catches everyone. So it loses that part of that story again, but it's almost imitating that movie. And that's where it loses it for me a bit. But there is still some good action. I like how he's out there dressing like a homeless person with his toque and his, old jacket, like a suit jacket. And he looks like somebody from the street and stuff like that. It just falls because it tries to do that imitation, and it ends up just kind of being boring. But I think Charles Bronson's still pretty good in it. The rape scenes are a bit much, and that's one of the reasons I don't think I'll return to it. It's just, it's too much, guys. It's just too much. You could tell these things without having, go right in your face like that with all this stuff. Coming in at number 3 is Death Wish 4, The Crackdown.
I do.
Now this one I could still have a pretty good time with. I like how Paul Kersey's with his family now. He's got this adopted daughter almost, and he's teaching her stuff, teaching her about architecture and stuff. Things seem to be going good for Paul Kersey, but when his adopted daughter has a drug overdose, this puts him back in action. He wants to find out who put the drugs in her hand, who's controlling the drugs. So he kind of goes after, it's just not about thugs in this one. He's actually going after this little drug ring, this mafia drug ring and he sets everyone up. That's what's interesting about it. I like how he sets everyone up. He makes them kind of kill each other, but he gets screwed at the end, and he takes this guy who's been leading the whole thing, setting the whole thing up. He's being used through this and takes him out with a rocket launcher. But one thing the movie that I wish it would have done more is gotten to the psychological mindset of Paul Kersey. They set that up, but they don't run with it. In the beginning, when he's having this nightmare about, you know, him just shooting thugs, and then when he flips a thug over, he sees himself. He sees himself turning into something he doesn't want to be anymore. And I wish they would have run with that a bit more, but they didn't. But so Death Wish 4, still a good time, but at number 3. Coming in at number 2 is the original Death Wish from 1974.
You'll have to take it.
All right, the one that started it all, guys, Death Wish. I mean, this was a very shocking movie for its day. I mean, that rape scene, that assault on its family at the beginning, it's still kind of hard to watch now. And in this movie, I can see why you're showing it. This is the first one. No one's seen stuff like that before. It gets you into the mindset of Paul Kersey and how he just can't sit still. He has to do something about it. And it's really about this man who just, his job was to protect his family, and he couldn't. And so he starts walking the streets and starts taking the law into his own hands by just taking out random muggers and stuff, because he has to do something. And I just love how it's like this descent, how this guy was just a civilized guy who probably never even been in a fight before. He slowly starts beating the thugs up, then he starts going out and shooting them until he just becomes this cold killer. It's how the law system fails him, and he's lashing out. So he's a victim who's lashing out against the system. And I just love how he never catches them. That's what's so interesting. They never let the character get that satisfaction. And they don't let us get that, you know, is he going to find them? No, they leave that. But when he becomes this vigilante, the crime rate goes down, and the city's actually doing good because there's threat to these criminals out there. They give him this ultimatum: we want you to get out of New York. We don't want to see you again. But they leave the idea that he's still out there, that they haven't caught him. They release that to the press. That way their streets are safe to walk at night. So it's a very interesting movie in that sense, where, you know, this character study of this man descending into this, you know, hate and vigilante and revenge. And the atmosphere of this movie is unmatched. Yeah, that has this really great cold atmosphere when he's walking the streets, he's looking at the muggers, and everything's in shadow, and it just has that really cold feeling. So it's fantastic. It's great. Coming in at number 1 is Death Wish 3. Now this one, guys, is nostalgic. It's fun. I just have a blast with this. So this really has to do with entertainment and rewatchability, and I love this one. I love rewatching it all the time. When I go to pick a Bronson movie, I typically put this one on because it's just Bronson taking out the trash. And he's being used by the police force to, you know, do the dirty work for them, essentially, because he can do it and they can protect them. And I just love seeing how he sets traps. I love that third act where it's just balls to the wall, machine gun, freaking riot, chaos, explosions, people getting shot to death. And just, you know, it just goes for all this gratuitous violence, but it's over the top 80s cheese awesomeness with it all. And they finally give him a villain. This is like the best villain out of the series. It's someone you can put against Paul Kersey, and you want to see what happens at the end when he blows that motherfucker right out of the freaking building with the rocket launcher. It's awesome, man. It's awesome. Death Wish 3 is just a very fun movie in this franchise. It's where this franchise had needed to go with a movie like this. It needed to do something with the tone, something kind of different. And I just love it. I think Death Wish 3 is an absolute freaking blast, man. Don't be shy, guys. If you want to let me know any other Charles Bronson movies you would like me to review, I'm always open to it. Or any reviews or any recommendations, please let me know in the comments below. So that is my ranking, guys, of all the Death Wish films. I have reviewed every Death Wish movie. I'll post some of the reviews here in the comments below, in the description below. You can check out all my Death Wish reviews. My name is Jason. You're watching Backtrack Cinema. I will see you on the next video, and I will see you in the movies, man. Cheers.